Hi there. Welcome back to John Thoumire Garden Designs, and this is a regular feature on plant cuttings, particularly indoor plant cuttings for the moment. Today we're going to be doing Chlorophytums, the daddy of all the indoor plants. I know most people will have them, most people, or at least will remember their mothers having them, or their grandmothers, or their grandfathers. Personally, they're one of my favorite plants, if not my favorite indoor plant. They're low maintenance, they are beautiful. They really, for me, the light nature of their leaves and their plants, it really brings a space. It brings movement to a space. It only takes kind of somebody walking by one and you can see the leaves start to move. And I love that about these plants. And out of the many that I actually have in this house, they really are just my favorite. So a little bit of history on these, a little bit of information. They're subtropical in origin, like all indoor plants. They come from a very similar region. The origins of these are, I believe, Africa, subtropical Africa, though you can find them across the world in subtropical regions. It was in the 18th century that they were brought over by, I think it was a guy called Carl Thunberg, and he introduced them to households across Europe, really, and they just took off from there. And now you've got all different varieties, some with curly leaves, some with very kind of low-lying leaves. This that we're going to be doing today is the one that you will find in most places. It's called Chlorophytum cosmosum, and you can't really go wrong with it. You've got these beautiful long green spears, leaves, that will just kind of last forever. You can mist them if you want. I don't even have to mist this, and it just continues to look great and produce lots and lots of plantlets. I know of people who keep them in the bathroom, they keep them in the kitchen, as you hear many people doing with a lot of these indoor plants. And yes, I would suggest that for things like calatheas. But you know what? This plant, you could actually enjoy it just in your main living room if it's not particularly cold. And so I would say absolutely get yourself a chlorophytum or spider plant. So we're going to kick off first with the basic style, which is putting it in water. Now we talked about this last week as well, about putting these cuttings in water. And there is a bit of a discussion on the benefits to it. Some plants take to it really easily. Other plants, though, when it's time to pot them back into soil, they maybe don't always do so well. It's because the water is not giving them any nutrients. And you can't add anything to the water to give it nutrients. You're just giving it the oxygen that it needs to keep producing. Some plants, it works fine. I don't really have that much of a problem. But I'll be honest, I've been doing this for a long time now, and maybe that's just it. I tend not to put the chlorophytums in the water. I find they root absolutely perfectly well on their own. So, but let's start with this. So I've got the chlorophytum here, and I've got many strands coming off. And just as an aside, look at these beautiful flowers that come off this plant. Now I've got another strand over here which is just covered in flowers. And if you have that up high and let this just hang down, it's a lovely thing just to have. And it's when this branch here, it starts to go yellow, you can take the plantlets off it at that point and then cut this away. When I'm done here today, we're going to cut this away, and it'll preserve the look of the plant because it can imbalance it a little bit. You'll find that it kind of pushes the plant over. Not dangerously, not to take the plant down, but it musses up the leaves a little bit, and some people don't like that. So, first off, we're going to go with this one here. And this is quite healthy, this is looking good. And we have our regular knives. You don't really need them for this. I'm going to use them just really for best practice, but you can actually just take them off as they are. But we're going to, as I say, best practice. So again, this has been put through boiling hot water, cleaned and sharpened. So best practice is to always do that. We're going to take away this lovely flour, sorry to say, and some of the spent ones as well, just to give us the cleanest, best cut that we can get. So if everyone can see, so we're going to go at the base here. We're just going to, there we go, very easy. So as you can see, this is the cutting, this is the plantlet. I'm taking away some of these excess things just in the middle, and that's because you want all the power to go into the leaves. So can we see everything here? I know we're a little bit covered by the comments here, apologies. My tripod is doing some weird things. So this is, I don't know if any of you have ever done these things with water cutting before. Unless you have some like special gizmo, I end up using something like masking tape to hold the plantlet in. And it just stops it going right in. So you can either put it there or here. And that's, the tip of it is actually in the water, as you can see. And that will do its thing. That'll do its thing absolutely fine. And it will start to grow roots. I'm not going to leave this here. As I say, I tend not to do this. I just wanted to show you that this is an absolutely legitimate way of doing it. And you'll get a very successful cutting out of it. I just like having the pots. They fill up space. So I'm going to take this out. And bring up this. And it's as easy as doing this, okay? Making a small hole. And putting it in. We've got the mother plant here doing its best. And that's it. That's all you have to do with this. So that is that. Before I move on to the next bit, I just want to show you another method. I don't do this because I don't actually have the space. This is how the plants naturally do it though. So in their native environments, what happens is these fall down to the ground. And I don't know if you can hear the creak from the actual plant itself, but they fall down to the ground, they lie there, and they will just root themselves in. So I'll use this one over here actually, because it's got a bigger plant. So what you would do, if you had the space, if you can see, it's still on the branch, it's still getting its nutrients from there. And then what you can do, these are my special my pins that I spend my Friday nights actually making. So you just make a pin. And anyone who has done leaf cuttings or has watched me doing leaf cuttings, you take the pin, you push it down, try and get, and there's actually another plantlet on here and you could do the same thing. And that's it. And you would leave it there and it would root itself. And again, I would like to do this. It's a nice natural way to do it, but you do need the space. You could have whole troughs lined with these. I don't know how they do it in professional nurseries. I suspect they do it the same way we're doing it at the moment, by just putting the cuttings into the soil, because it makes more sense. But if you had the chance to do this, you would certainly come away with a very strong, very healthy plant. But as I say, we aren't going to do that. So again, take the pin out. Plant goes there. So back to these cuttings here. For a nice healthy plant, okay, they do have a very, very busy root system. If you see it, I don't know if we can maybe show you it. Okay, can see here, these here, they're big, thick roots, big, thick white roots. And they're very strong roots as well. It's why the plant is such a survivor. So what you want is that you can actually pack these quite close together and they won't have a problem. A lot of times when you're doing things, particularly gardening outdoors, must be said, you have to get your spacing correct for plants, or otherwise they won't reach their full potential. They'll grow half size, or one plant will outtake the other. We'll be looking at that sort of thing probably a little bit next year, maybe a little bit towards the end of this year. But for the moment, we're just doing these. So, again, we've got this. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you in one of these little pots. If you go to some of the big super stores, super gardening stores, you'll see them actually come in these first. And it is as easy as this. Move this out the way, or try to move this out the way. There you go. It's hardly even worth the video, I know that. But, you know, there are some people who, they do get scared about this sort of thing. And it's really not necessary. You can create these stunning plants without too much of a problem. Right, so again, we're going to take this one here. Sharp knife. It's not really one cut, but the plant is pretty strong. Okay, so again, we're going to take away any of the spent matter, the dead material off it. In this case, it's usually flowers. Beautiful. Sorry, I went a bit Hannibal there, A-team. All right, so again, goes in. And I would say that's fine for now. So what I'll show you, these have just gone in right now. This was just one plantlet that went in 2 weeks ago. This is about a month ago. You can see the size difference. And this is about 2 months, maybe 3 months ago. You can see how quickly they grow and how easy they are to grow. At this stage, you just want to take the cutting, you want to give it a little bit of water. I pre-wetted this soil. This is my usual potting soil, which is made up of coir, perlite and vermiculite. Very free draining. The coir holds water well though. No peat, all right? You don't want any nutrients because they might burn the roots off. I know that sounds a little drastic. I think I'm probably using the term a bit wrong, but soils with high levels of peat or regular compost, they will kind of take off. They will stop it from rooting because it's just got too many acids in it. So that's why you want really something just for the roots to get a hold of. And then when it gets to that stage, and I would say this is getting close to it, you can put it in something a little bit bigger with a little bit of nutrients in it. You could either use like the Grosure, the little pellet forms. I would actually urge you more to go that way because I think I've mentioned before, I'm trying to stay away from peat. Sometimes it's unavoidable, particularly in a garden situation. But in this in this place and time, there are plenty of substitutes that are very good for it. Was there anything else we were going to go? No, because I promised this would be a short one because of my gargantuan effort last week. There's been no Fred interaction. There's been, hey Si, good to see you. I'm afraid I'm about to wrap up. But next week, we're going to have another garden walkthrough. Yesterday we did Dunbar's Close, just off the Royal Mile in Edinburgh. That was lovely. And I think we're going to do actually the Helix Park this week. And I'm hoping to get a special guest along for that as well, who will be far more knowledgeable than I am on the topic. But then again, you'll get to see my mug. Someone's got to hold the camera after all. But anyway, Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you all have an amazing weekend because it looks like it's going to be fantastic. Cheers.